Welcome back to Dating Intentionally. I'm Talia. I'm sharing no nonsense advice for navigating dating and relationships with confidence and ease. Whether you've been dating for a while or you're just getting started, I believe dating can be fun. And today we are going to get into a handful of new dating dilemmas. I also want to thank you really quick for all your emails, Instagram messages, and Spotify comments. It helps me keep this podcast as relevant as possible to you. So I just appreciate it a lot. If you want to submit a dating dilemma of your own for me to read on the podcast, you can submit it in the show notes below. There's a form linked there for you. And of course, if you are enjoying this podcast and it's helping you in your dating journey, I would love it if you follow and rate or review wherever you're listening right now. It takes 2 seconds and it helps the show reach new people. And it just means a lot to me. And if you've already followed and rated, thank you so much. Okay, let's get to it. This first one is about dating in a life transition. Here we go. After living in my city for 7 years, I, 30 female, am considering moving to a new country for my dream job, but I'm single and I want to find my person. I'd say I've been, quote, dating intentionally, meaning I set my priorities and boundaries for a year, but I'm worried that it will be hard to date in a new country where I don't speak the language. My workplace would be very international and all of the business is conducted in English, so I will be fine at work. How should I prioritize my dating goals alongside my dream job opportunity? So, this one, I love this question. It is definitely a very relatable situation to be in where you have an opportunity to move and change your life and follow your dream path. But that also means your entire dating pool changes if you're single and you want a relationship. And that's tough. My advice, I mean, go for that dream job, even if it means your entire dating pool is going to be different and it might be challenging. Like, don't stay in the same place because you might meet someone and you've already been there for 7 years. Maybe a change in location will actually be good for your dating life, even if there is a potential language barrier. You never know who you're going to meet when you move and take this new job, which sounds really exciting. Congratulations, by the way. I think it's best to stay open to the idea that you could meet someone while working internationally and there could be someone maybe you meet at home and then you do long distance. Anything is possible. If I were you, if I'm moving somewhere for my dream job, I would hop on the apps for sure, look for meetups, and generally just explore my new home with an open mind because you just really never know who you're going to cross paths with. I think when you move somewhere new, that novelty is very energizing and that does pour over into your dating life. And look, if you visit home, like after you move, you can still date at home. There's no reason to not date at home if you want to when you are visiting or in town for whatever reason. I have a hunch that your job isn't going to hold you back as much as you think. And something I like to say a lot is don't create problems before they exist. What if dating there is actually easier than you expect? And what if it works out? I also want to touch on a common, broader theme that I often see in messages and questions that I get from listeners. And that's like, my life is about to change and I want to find a person, but I'm worried about what dating will be like after this change. But here's the thing, you don't really know what it's going to be like until you get there, until the thing changes. And I want you to be aware of making assumptions. This isn't your specific situation to the person who wrote in, but there's always that person who's like, should I not date if I know I'm moving in 6 months? And the answer is if you want to date, date. Don't assume that if you date in 6 months, you'll be in a serious relationship that you'll have to deal with when you move. It's hard to get into a relationship. So let things play out and trust that everything will work out exactly how it's supposed to instead of looking for reasons to hesitate or hold off, especially when it comes to your dream job. I hope this helps. And if you are listening to this and you have any insight, please let me know. You can leave a comment on Spotify, on YouTube. You can DM me on Instagram. I'm at dating.intentionally. Okay, let's go to the next one. This one is about finding motivation after a ton of rejection and, quote, failed relationships. I, 29 female, am dating intentionally. Cool. I feel like I have tried everything under the sun. My apps, my parents are setting me up, my friends have set me up with their friends. And what's been happening so far is that either I'm interested and they are lukewarm or not interested, or they're interested in me and I am not interested in them. It's been a pattern I've been noticing, and it's at a point where I question my choices in men. I've been following your Instagram page for some time now, and I go on these dates with no expectations and to have fun while also getting to know them to see if their values align with me. And frankly, I just feel tired. I feel that. I've been thinking about taking a break, but when I take a break, I always want to use that time to figure out how to break the cycle that I've been in so far. And I have no idea what it is I need to change in myself. I don't know if I'm overdoing it on my first dates, like talking too much or too little. Sometimes I'm not able to understand what a guy is talking about, especially if it's topics I'm not familiar with. Am I not good looking enough? Maybe this is all negative self talk too, but I guess my bottom line question is, how do I develop a sense of security in myself that when these things do happen, I'm able to bounce back and feel motivated to keep trying? Oh man, I relate to that so much. I'm sure you do too. This is such a common dilemma. You're doing everything, you're trying everything, and it's just like, man, I am tired. Nothing's working. What's wrong with me? And I actually just did a whole episode about this. Why there's nothing wrong with you. I will link it in the show notes for you. But here are my thoughts. So, I get the sense from this message that you might be putting a lot of pressure on yourself despite having low expectations when you're going into dates. And we also have to acknowledge the pressure from your parents and maybe even your friends probably on you as well. This pressure is always going to make dating harder and make the stakes feel insanely high, which also contributes to your fatigue. This also makes it harder to bounce back when faced with rejection. All that pressure is just not helping you. It also sounds like you're aware of taking breaks, doing the work, and how you might be contributing to things not working out. But here's the thing, you're probably doing a lot of things right, especially if you're showing up authentically. And it's possible you are putting out this desperate energy unintentionally due to these internal and external pressures that you're facing. And I know this advice is kind of frustrating because it's like, duh, Talia, of course I'm going to do this. But I think what will help you most is focusing on your life, like the best version of your life and what that looks like without love and romance and dating. What is good in your life? What is going for you that has nothing to do with dating? Can you amplify that in your life and do more of it? And what does the best version of your life look like without love? And can you go create that version? Yes, you can take a break, but you don't have to. What I'm getting at is that you'll be able to bounce back more easily when you stop centering dating and men so much in your life. Center yourself more, and that's going to help you create more safety and security. You might not ever feel 100% secure or safe when single, and we have, I think, our society to thank for that. But I'm encouraging you to aim for like 25 to 30% more of that self security. While I wish this wasn't the case, you're probably going to experience more ups and downs in the future, whether you're single or actively dating or in a relationship. It's kind of unavoidable. Let's talk about motivation for a second. And I think one missing piece, based on your message, is that dating feels more like a job to you and it's not fun. What are the fun parts? Is it getting dressed up? Is it connecting with someone new, going to a new bar or restaurant, telling your friends about the date after? Focus on the fun. That's more motivating than, oh my God, I'm 29, my biological clock is ticking, and I need to find someone ASAP. That doesn't sound fun at all. And look, I get it. It's hard because you're not going to ignore the fact that you want a relationship and a partner. I'm encouraging you to pull some energy from that quest that you're on and put that energy more towards the things in your life that you enjoy, that make your life fun, that you're good at, that fill your cup. Because what that does is one, it makes you feel a little bit better about being single. Two, it also makes you more attractive. I mean, that's just kind of an added side bonus of pouring more energy into yourself and what makes your life awesome. You don't need to take a break. What you need to do is try to shift your focus a little bit. You can continue to date, you can continue to meet people, but also pay attention to what in your life actually makes you feel good that you can control, that has nothing to do with men and dating and your love life. So, can you do both? It's hard. Okay. I'm not going to sugarcoat this. It is definitely really difficult, but that is how you do that. Because when you are really enjoying your life and you're happy with who you are and where you are in life, even though you don't have this one thing that you are trying to get, which is a relationship, it's going to feel easier to bounce back because it just matters a little bit less. You're like, you know what? I'm actually good. I don't need this desperately. I want this, but I'm actually okay without this. And it just makes it a lot easier to go through those ups and downs. I hope this helps. And if you have any additional thoughts on this or insight or questions, you can DM me on Instagram at dating.intentionally. This next one is a pretty frustrating issue that unfortunately happens a lot. Yeah, let me know what you think about this one. Almost all of the guys that have asked me out for date number one cancel the day of. Since it happens so often, I'm questioning what is wrong with me that they won't even meet me in person. Are there signs that they give off before that I should be recognizing so I don't have to go through the lows of so many canceled dates? Oof, I'm so sorry this keeps happening. People cancel or bail on plans when they're tired, it's bad weather, they're not feeling well, or maybe a better plan comes up. And it really sucks. And I'm not justifying it, but I want to point out that these reasons usually have absolutely nothing to do with you. In terms of signs that they're going to be someone who bails on a date, that's tricky. I mean, that's a really good question. I think some signs could be nonchalant language, like very like, "Oh yeah, we can see how it goes. We'll see if we can find time. We'll see if we can meet up." Like that kind of language, I think is pretty non-committal and a red flag when messaging. Also, I think if they start the date planning conversation or come to the date planning conversation with phrases like, "I'm just really busy, I'm so swamped, work is crazy, am under a lot of stress," then yeah, they're probably gonna cancel that date. Again, nothing to do with you, but I think those are 2 signs that kinda stick out in my mind that someone might bail, and it really sucks. We are not justifying this. Like, if you are someone who does this, please stop. And if you're going to cancel a date, you have to do it as early as you possibly can, preferably not the day of. Have I done this? Yes. But when I have the few times, very few times that I've canceled a date day of, I always offer another time. Like, oh, I'm not feeling well right now. And I tried to see if I could rally for this date, but I'm not well. And I think maybe tomorrow will be better or like in 2 days. So if you cancel a date, if you're the person who does this, please stop. And it's okay if you also suggest another time. And if you don't want to have the date at all, you need to say that. Don't just cancel and then never say anything else because the other person's going to be like, well, are we going to try to find another time? Are you still interested? We don't do ambiguity here. So that's my little rant on that. You also asked if you are doing anything wrong. And I want to assume no, right? Let's just assume that you're not. But I brainstormed a few things that someone could do that might cause their date to cancel the day of. We don't know if you're doing these things. I'm going to assume you're not. But here are 5 things. 1, over texting. If you're texting them a play by play of your day before you've even met, that's a no go. Or if you're basically having an entire first date conversation before the date, like the getting to know you conversations, I can see the date maybe being canceled. They could learn something about you that makes them realize that they don't want to meet you, or it just feels weird to text with someone that much before you've met. 2, being too personal or like mushy in general before meeting, like calling someone baby. That's just a no. Like if you're calling each other babe, baby, honey before you've even met, oh no, that date might get canceled. Another third idea was maybe if you've followed each other on social media before the date and they don't like what they saw on your page, that could be a reason. Or maybe they Google you and find something questionable, like maybe your dating app photos don't match your internet presence or social media photos. And the last one is maybe planning the date too far out. If you're planning a date 10 days out, it's tough to keep that momentum going. And it's possible that the day comes where you're going to have the date, and all of a sudden they find that they don't care because you first started talking 10 days ago and you haven't met and they no longer care. Momentum matters in dating. I have a whole episode on this too. I will link it in the show notes. If you can't get a first date on the books within a few days of chatting, I would suggest doing a phone call or FaceTime in the meantime to keep that momentum up instead of planning a date 10 days out. That's a long time. So again, those are just 5 possibilities. I think the last one's the most common. Again, it's a bummer this keeps happening to you. And if you're listening to this again, if you're someone who cancels on dates and plans in general the day of, that is a habit that I'm encouraging you to break because it is not good social hygiene. And if you are someone who's overcommitting or you're like not judging your time very well or anything. You need to work on that because it's crappy behavior to cancel a day of. Obviously, things happen. True emergencies happen. Maybe you're not feeling well, you're sick, you're under the weather, fine. But if it's a common recurrence, you've got to work on that. I hope this helps. Again, if you have any thoughts on this one, you can DM me on Instagram at dating.intentionally. You can drop a comment here on Spotify if you're listening on Spotify or on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. All right, we have one more. This is kind of a long one. It's about friends to more. I, 27 female, went on a short trip this weekend that involved spontaneously last minute crashing at my friend's house, who's a 32-year-old male, for one night. We've been friends for 8 years and see each other probably 3 to 4 times a year when we're passing through each other's towns. We have such a good time when we're together. We enjoy a lot of the same activities, make each other laugh, love deep conversation. We're really there for each other when we need it. Every time we leave each other, I always question why we've never talked about dating or even made moves on each other. There's always been a little bit of sexual tension between us, but neither of us have acted on it. Spicy. When we got together this time around, I felt a huge shift in how I felt about him. We were a little flirty, and I felt like we were looking at each other differently. We had a really deep conversation about wanting to be in relationships, not necessarily with each other, and have talked about if we wanted kids or what we're looking for in a partner. I honestly haven't stopped thinking about him since I left. We live approximately 6 hours away from each other, which I think is the reason why none of us has really made moves. I want to ask him if he's ever thought about us dating, but I also kind of want to just ask him on a date. I don't really know what that looks like since we're long distance. I guess I'm just wondering if you have any thoughts or advice on how to move forward. I could really see us being good together, and I'm also very aware of the risk of potentially losing our friendship if I make a move. Thanks. Okay, love this. And I know this is a pretty common situation where you're friends with someone for a while and then you start to see them a little differently and you're like, why aren't we dating? So I get the distance here is kind of an issue, but I want to just focus on the core problem and then we can talk about the distance. So I love that you're thinking about this approach of how to take this from a friendship to more. You seem pretty confident and excited about giving it a shot. Of the two ideas that you shared, I think both are great, but I have some tweaks. I think asking him on a date is bold and fun, it's adventurous, and I think since it's long distance, you could maybe plan a trip, to go his way. You live 6 hours apart. I don't know what brings you to his town, but could you plan on a trip? Could you pitch a date? I think you could. Or could you get him to come to your town, right? And see what happens. I think also, asking him if he's ever thought about you guys dating is a little more putting him on the spot. Instead, I would tell him that you are having this idea. Like, recently, it kind of dawned on me that we should date, or I think we'd be a good match, right? Talk about it from your point of view. Don't ask him what he thinks. Be like, I actually have been thinking about this. Here's how I feel. And I wanted to check in to see where you're at. When it comes to potentially losing the friendship, this is such a common concern. And I am really curious to hear what you listeners think. So please shoot me a comment on Spotify, YouTube, or on Instagram. So I am a positive person. I like to take a positive approach. Like, assume that you can still be friends even if he's not on the same page. It might take some time, but I think you can get there if you're both mature and value the friendship. Like, if you ask him out on a date or if you tell him that you've been thinking about him in a romantic way and he's like, I actually don't feel the same, I want to assume your friendship is strong enough and that you're both mature enough to get over that, right? To kind of be like, okay, all right, we're not going there. Cool. Let's continue being friends. I think there is a way to do that. If you'd be so crushed by the rejection that you couldn't be friends anymore, I would reconsider making this move because that's a deeper issue there. Another way I like to think about this positively is like, what if it works out? What if he's on the same page and he's like, yeah, I've actually been crushing on you for a while? That would be cool, right? I also know this sounds weird, but I have an abundance mentality when it comes to friends. For example, if this caused you to lose a friend, you will make more friends in your life. Will it suck to lose him as a friend? Yes, but it's not the end of the world. And I'm not saying you can discard people and it's fine. Like, we can still be sad about it. Like, you will make more friends in your life. It's not like you start with 10 friends and they only drop off. Like, you will replace friends eventually in your life. Life is long. I know it sounds harsh, but that's how I feel. And finally, I think that if just making a move, like expressing interest alone, causes a friendship to break, you have to wonder how strong that friendship was in the first place. I think a good friendship can handle someone approaching that line in an appropriate, respectful way, like how you suggested. And if the other person isn't on board, like I said, there is a level of maturity that exists where you can go back to being friends. And if that person or you are not mature enough to do that, again, you have to think about how strong that friendship is and how ready you are for a relationship. So I say go for it. In terms of the distance, I mean, long distance is not impossible to figure out. And you've already been able to see each other. What that could look like is just seeing each other more often. You figure it out. You figure out a schedule that works for you. You take turns and adjust based on how you feel. And given that you already have a somewhat strong foundation of friendship already, I think it could make things easier starting out, especially with long distance. Let me know what you think. I would love to hear an update on this one if you are listening to this and you take my advice and you go for it, which I totally think you should. We'd love to hear from you. So reach out to me on Instagram at dating.intentionally or shoot me an email at datingintentionallypod@gmail.com. All right, that's all I have for you today. Again, if you want to submit your dating dilemma for me to read next month, you can head to the show notes for the anonymous submission link. Also, I'm sharing a lot more of these on YouTube. So if you didn't hear yours here, or if you want to listen to more real life dating dilemmas and my answers, head to YouTube. You can find my channel by searching Dating Intentionally YouTube on Google, on the internet. I'm there. I have a lot more free content there that you won't find on the podcast or anywhere else. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for trusting me. And don't forget, you're doing great. I hope you share this episode with someone who is navigating dating and might need a little confidence boost or some tough love. And if any of these episodes have helped you in your journey, you can help me by leaving a stunning review on Apple or giving Dating Intentionally 5 stars on Spotify. I'd really appreciate it. Once again, I'm Talia. This has been Dating Intentionally, and I'll see you next time.